Hello, let's look today at the AQA Functional Skills Level 2 Maths Paper 1, that's the non-calculator one, for June 2021. You have half an hour, so let's get started. First question is asking us, they give us 10 minutes and they're asking us to circle the mode, and the mode is the one that's the most common. So we're looking for the one that has more. There's only one 1, but you notice we have two 2s. There's only one 3. We notice that there's two 6s, and we see that there are 3 7s. So there are more 7s than anything else. So we shall circle the 7. So 7 is the mode. Let's move on to question number 2. And question number 2 is a calculation, and it asks us to work out this calculation, and there's an addition, a multiplication and a power. And if you remember, the first thing you should do is brackets, if there are any. After doing the brackets, you should do any powers. After powers, you look to do multiplication and division, and at the very end you'll do the addition and the subtraction. In this case, we notice that there's no brackets, but we do have a power, so if we work out the power, that is 2 times 2 times 2, which will give us 8. Let's see the rest of the calculation. So we have a 12 plus a 5 multiplied by an 8. So the next thing to do is going to be the multiplication, because multiplication is before the addition. So we're going to say 5 times 8, and 5 times 8 is 40. And we then have to do the last bit of this calculation, which is going to be 12 plus 40, which will give us 52. So the final answer for this calculation is 52. Okay, let's have a go at question number 3. And question number 3 has given us, or presents us with, a grid, and it says here on this grid they've marked out the 3 vertices. Vertices is another word for corners, for rectangle, and you can see that indeed we have a rectangle nearly there, we're just missing one, and the question is asking us to work out the coordinates of the 4th vertex. Now, as you'll remember, rectangles have equal base, the sides are the same, and the base is the same as the top. So in other words, if we know what the top is, the bottom will be the same. So if the top is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 along. And we can test it because it's going to be the same on the left hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the right hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is correct. So that is our corner of our rectangle. Now we have to write the coordinates, and remember, you always place the x-axis first, and the x-axis tells us it's 4. And then we look to see how on the y-axis is it up and down. In this case it's down, -1. So our coordinates are 4, -1 for question number 3. Let's move on to question number 4. And question number 4 is another calculation, and in this case it says work out, and we're going to do a subtraction. So give yourself some space to do that one. So I'm copying down 0.826, and I'm going to subtract 0.47. Notice the thing I need to do is put the first one on top and the second on the bottom, and the other thing is align the decimal points, and then you can start your subtraction. In this case we have 6 take away nothing, because nothing is there if you want to put a 0 in there. 6 take away nothing is 6. 2 take away 7, we can't do that, so we're going to have to borrow. So if I borrow from here, I'm going to end up with a 7. Carry 1 over here, so I have 12. 12 take away 7 is going to be 5. 7 take away 4 is going to be 3. Put in your decimal dot, and 0 take away 0 is 0. So our answer for that case, or for this question, is 0.356. Make sure your decimal point is nice and clear when you write it down. So that's the answer for question number 4. Let's move on to question number 5. And question number 5 asks us to place these numbers in order, starting with the largest. Now just a little reminder that on the number line, if this is 0 and the numbers over here, the integers, are becoming positive, it basically gets bigger. And on this side you have -1, and then you have like -2, etc. And in that case it gets smaller. So when we're looking for the largest one, we want the positive, the biggest positive. And if we look here, the biggest positive is 12. So I'm going to cross 12 off place it in, and then we're working backwards, and so the next biggest positive one is 4. The next one will be 2. So we've done all our positive numbers. Now we have our negative numbers. And remember, we're working from big towards small, so we're going that direction, which means that we're looking for either -1 or -2. The next one will be -3, the next -4, -5. So the next one will be a -5. Then we get a -7, and at the very end we'll have -15. 2 marks. Let's move on to question number 6. Now question number 6, there are different ways of doing this, but we're doing it without a calculator. Obviously, if you have a method that works for you, please use that method. The one I'm going to do is I'm going to spot that basically our denominators are not the same. But what is nice is this one here is a 4, and so I could double the 4, which will make it an 8, and then they'll be the same. So what I'm going to take is I'm going to take that fraction, and I'm basically going to double it. Okay, so I'm going to double the number on top, and I'm going to double the number on the bottom. I'm not actually doubling it because it's an equivalent fraction, so the amount will be the same, but it looked like it doubled. So double 3 is going to be 6 over double 4, 8. And now I'm just going to copy what we had already, which was 7 over 8. And in this case we have 7 over 8, take away 6 over 8, which means that we're talking about 8s, so 8s will be the same. And 7 take away 6 is nice and easy, because 7 take away 6 leaves us with 1. So the answer for this one is 1/8 is the answer for that question. Let's move on to question number 7. And question number 7 is the start of the section B questions. So these are the longer questions. Let's have a look at them. We're talking about personal finance. Anne is reviewing her finances. Anne has a net monthly income of 1,750. The table shows her spending. What does she spend her money on and how much? And they tell us that she saves the rest of her monthly income. And our question is, what fraction of her net monthly income does Anne save? Give your answer in its simplest form. So the first thing we need to find out is how much does she spend? Okay, so we're going to add how much she spends. Now it's up to you where you do it. You could write it on the side, you could write it, so let's find out. So on this case we're going to basically add up how much she spends. 0 plus 5 plus 0 plus 5 plus 0. So here we have 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry 1. So now we have 9. Sorry about that. Let me place it so you can actually see it. So now we have 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 1 is 18. 18 plus 8 is going to be 26. 26 plus 9 is going to be 35. Carry 3. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 3 is going to be 12. 12 plus another 3 is going to be 15. So the answer for this one is going to be 1,550. So let's write that down. Okay, so that's how much she spends. But notice the question says the rest of her money. So we're going to take the money she had every month, which is 1,750, and we shall take away from it what we just calculated, all the money she spends. So we have here 0 take away 0 is 0, 5 take away 5 is 0, but nothing, 7 take away 5 is 2, and 1 take away 1 is 0. So in other words, what she has left over is £200. At this point, that is how much she saves. It says here, what fraction of her monthly income does she save? So we know how much she saves, and we need to write it as a fraction. So a fraction is how much out of the total. So 200 out of the total, and her total income was 1,750. Okay. So now we'd have to do, so far we're fine, we've answered this, but we now need to put it in its simplest form, and simplest form means cancelling down. What fits in? Well, the first bit that's obvious is this is basically a multiple of 10, this is a multiple of 10, so I'm going to cancel or divide by 10, and that gives me an answer of 20 out of 175. Okay. Once again, you'll notice this ends in a 0, this ends in a 5, which means it's going to be in the 5 times table. So we need to find out now 5 times table, I know that 20 is 4 lots of 5. 4 times 5 is 20. But it's a little bit harder to find out how many 5s are in there. So I'm just going to do a little division. Now you could go counting up. You could go going 5, 10, 15 and find out how many are in there. But I'm going to do a little division to find out how many we have. We have 175 and we're going to divide it by 5. So does 5 fit into 1? No, it doesn't. So I carry that one. Does 5 fit into 17? Well, it does, because you have 3 lots of 5s. It's 15. We had 17 things, so 17 take away 15 will leave me with 2. So I carry the 2 over. Now I have 25. How many 5s in 25? 5. And there's nothing remaining. So in that case, on the bottom we have 35 lots of 5. So we have 35 lots of 5. We can cancel the 5s, which means we now have 4 out of 35. And think about it, 4s can only be, the factors of 4 are 1, 2 and 4, and I can't divide this by 2 and I can't divide it by 4, so the answer for this one will be 4 lots of 35, or 4 out of 35 is the answer for this question. Let me bring it up so you can see. Okay, so that was worth 4 marks. Let's have a look at part B of this question. And part B of this question, I quite like these ones because these are to do with scatter graphs, and there's normally quite a few marks, as you can see here, 5 marks. And what we have is a graph, and on the graph it's telling us how much gas is used a day in kilowatt hours and what's the temperature. Anna wants to know approximately how much gas she uses during a day in winter. She records the information for 18 days, and here we have the little data or the crosses for that. 16 of these are shown on scatter graph, so there should be 16 crosses there. The diagram shows the maximum daily temperature and the amount that she used. When we move down, we can see the table shows the data for 2 more days. Here we are. Use the scatter diagram with the data, which means that we're going to have to plot this, to estimate the amount of gas she uses on a day when the temperature reaches 5 degrees. So the first thing we need to do is plot this extra data. So we need to find where the temperature is 8 and where the usage is 32. So here we have 8, that's fine, I can find the temperature 8. We need to look for 32, and you notice here we have 0, 10, 20, 30, which is looking good, so it's going to be 30. And before you jump in, notice that we have basically only 5 boxes, so I can't go 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, because 35 is not there, that's 40. So you'll notice instead that it jumps up in 2, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. So in this case, when I want 32, it's going to be 1 box up. So if you follow along and match it with the 8, you'll end up with a cross there. Okay, so that's the cross that we've just put in. So we've done this one. We now need to do the same for 3 and 55. So we're looking for 3 and 55. 3 is here, and 55, well, 55 is going to be bang in the middle between 50 and 60. And for that, you should really get a ruler to help you follow where it is, so you don't go losing where you are. So bang in the middle will be somewhere around there. We want to be with 3. So 3, so it's going to be, there we are. Okay. Now try to be careful, because if your crosses aren't close to where they should be, you won't get those marks. So we've plotted the extra crosses, and I'm just going to tick that I've done that. But that's not what the question wanted. The question wanted you to estimate how much she uses when the temperature is 5. And for that, you're going to need a ruler and to place a line of best fit that kind of goes through as many of those crosses as possible. And this is, you're allowed a little bit of flexibility, because we're all going to have slightly different lines. But the key thing is it must match as many of them as you can. Okay, so you want to kind of get as many as you can. So let's see. So if I kind of, and as I said, we all might get a slightly different answer. But the question is that looking good? I'm going to go for that. Okay, I'm going to draw my line. At this point, it's good to use a pencil if you have one, in case you need to rub it out and start again. But that kind of looks good, because we have crosses on the top, we have crosses on the bottom, the lines roughly going between them all. And what we now need to do is we need to find out what is the value, what is the gas usage when it's 5. So we find 5, here's 5. So So I'm going to put a line in, and your answer may be slightly different because it depends on your line of best fit. Okay, so you have to draw your line going up from 5 until it touches your line, and your line might be slightly different. Okay, and then I'm going to put the matching one and trying to keep it nice and horizontal for that. Okay, and there we are. That's my usage, or her usage. And in this case, this graph says 45. How do I know that? Because it's exactly between 40 and 50. But yours may say 44 or 43, or it might even be a bit higher. But in my case, the answer came out to 45. And remember, this is good to read the question. It says you must show your workings. That's our line of best fit that we did. But it also says include your units. And the units is what is the measurement. And here the measurement was kilowatt hours. So I'm just going to write down here kilowatt hours, and that will then get you the 5 marks. Excellent. So now we're on to question 7c, and question 7c is the last question because it says here end the questions. So let's have a little look at question 7c. And question 7c has Anna, and she wants to reduce her water bill. She pays for the amount of water she uses, and here's some advice. Turn off your tap while brushing your teeth and you will save 6,000 litres of water per year. That means every year that's how much water you'd save. They also say, or she knows, that her tap water costs £1.427 per cubic meters, and they tell us that 1 cubic meter is the same as 1,000 litres. Anna says, if I follow the advice, I will save more than 70p a month. So that is now our task. We're going to find out if indeed she's correct with that statement or not. Okay, what else do we have to do? Oh, we need to show our workings for the 3 marks. Okay. So what do they tell us? Well, they tell us that in a year she will save 7,000. Oh, made a mistake. Sorry about that. It's always good to read the question. 6,000. I don't know where I got the 7,000 from. 6,000 litres per year. Okay, but here they're telling us that the price is per cubic meter, so we need to change our litres into cubic meters, and to do that we'll divide by 1,000. Why? Because you need 1,000 litres to make 1 cubic meters. So we're going to find out how many cubic meters in here. So 6,000 divided by 1,000 will give us 6 cubic meters. Okay, so we found out how many cubic meters, but the charge is for 1 cubic meter that much, so we now need 6 of them. So we're going to work out £1.427 multiplied by 6, and this is where if you have a different technique for doing multiplication, that's fine, as long as it works for you. Use your technique. So 6 times 7 is going to be 42. Carry 4. I'm just going to write it there so I don't forget. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is going to be 16. So carry 1. Okay. And now we're going to 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus the one we had is 25. Carry 2. And now we're going to do 6 times 1. 6 times 1 is 6 plus a 2 is 8. So we're going to end up with 8562. But before you stop, we need to identify that we had 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So that's actually going to be £8.562. Okay, but that was not the question. That's how much she spends in a year. So that's how much it spends in 1 year. Okay, but the question here was how much will she save a month? So we're going to have to find out how much that is. Now there's several ways you could compare it. You could divide that by 12 to find out how much it is per month and then change it to pence. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, we knew that they said it was going to be 70 pence per month. So let's multiply that by 12. And that will tell us how much it would be in a year. So 2 lots of nothing is nothing. 2 lots of 7 is 14. Carry 1, but there's nothing else to do, so we're going to write that. And 1 lots of 0, 1 lots of 7, add them together. And so in a year, if she were saving 70p a a month, she would be saving 840 pence, and so change it into pounds, we divide by 100, so it becomes £8.40. Okay, so this is how much she said she would save. It says if I follow the advice I will save more than that, and so here we look at what she will save, and this is what she said she would do, and you can clearly see that this one is more than that, so the answer is yes, she does. She is correct. She is correct. Okay, I hope that was useful, and see you next time. Bye.